As the paths of AV and IT have intertwined, the need for monitoring AV devices has constantly been on the rise. IT departments have been utilizing various tools to make sure their user experience is a happy one. Well, with DDM, we are able to give the same ability to monitor your managed Dante network. Depending on the application, this functionality can be extremely useful. Dante deployments go into all kinds of use cases, which include mission-critical or campus-wide systems. All of these environments show the need for having a monitoring system that is active. DDM gives us the opportunity to be proactive as opposed to reactive, which has been the traditional perspective to monitoring in AV. When you log into Dante Domain Manager, the first thing you will see is a dashboard, which is a very simplified graphical representation of the health of your Dante network. This dashboard is made up of a set of widgets that show different kinds of alerts and service information. The widgets use colors to denote the status and functionality of components, and enables us to plan our next course of action. The information represented on the dashboard is live, and changes in device and/or services are visible on the dashboard as they happen. The DDM functions as a server on the network, and outages and issues once detected will appear in the dashboard. The best part about the dashboard is that the widgets are completely customizable. The users may change the layout of the widgets based on what works for their monitoring environment. Just simply click on the Customize Dashboard button, which is at the top right corner. It's safe to say the most important widget of them all would be the Alerts widget. These are associated with a variety of system issues relevant to your Dante deployment. A gray alert is a general suggestion, while a red one represents something more critical. The notifications are quite intuitive and give the user the opportunity to rectify and improve on their system proactively. The alerts categories actually have some icons associated with them. So let's take a look at them briefly. There are icons that are a part of the alerts to help us understand the cause of the incidents happening on the DDM-based Dante network. Also included in text in the card which gives device information. The icons are associated with the following errors: connectivity, clocking, subscriptions, latency, and system. The errors are self-explanatory, and if you've been learning about the managed Dante systems, you should have an idea about what to do next. As mentioned before, there are also informational alerts that may not immediately impact the devices, but definitely need to be looked into. This could be things like needing to back up your system, expiration of TLS certificates, and so on. As we've seen, the dashboard is extremely powerful. But as with most network technologies, what happens when you start getting lots of notifications? Things could get a little crowded. That's why DDM gives you the ability to filter the type of alerts that you would like to see on the dashboard. For example, if you are a system administrator, it might make sense for you to focus on system or network connectivity related issues. You can also filter the alerts based on the domains you see on your dashboard. This works perfectly if you are not directly responsible for all the domains that you have access to. You can set this up in the Filter drop-down menu and choose which domains you wish to receive alerts about. The next component on the dashboard are domain cards. These cards show you an overview of the health and status of each domain, including the number of enrolled devices and the status of various domain attributes. It will point to issues in the domain as well. For example, clocking or connectivity issues. The domain cards are again intuitive. White cards with green dots on the status, indicating a healthy functioning domain, as opposed to red cards with X marks on the components that are experiencing issues. You can choose to expand or collapse these cards depending on what you would like to view. We have found that in systems with a lot of domains, it might make sense to collapse some of them. To round things off on the dashboard, we have 4 other information areas that are important. The high availability section gives you information on the HA cluster if you have configured one. If you remember from our chapter on high availability, you'll know there are 3 components: This information area will help you visualize the status of the active, auxiliary, and arbitred nodes. The activity card displays the number of recent user operations and events. Depending on the size of the network, this number may vary. Remember, the DDM is functioning even when your systems are not actively in use. Variations in the user operations and events can be an indication of larger issues. There is an easy link to the audit log that details all the events. The host server card is going to display the information about the internal services. Each have their own specific functionality. When you enable the integration with an SNMP server, DDM becomes a read-only SNMP agent, hence the SNMP agent service. Dante Discovery Service enables automatic discovery using MDNS or DNSSD. Device Manager Service lets you know if the Dante Domain Manager has the resources to manage the devices. Typically, this would go red if there was an issue with processing power, too many dropped control packets, or if it doesn't have proper RAM memory or CPU. Finally, we have the External Services card. These are the email and LDAP services. But don't worry, we'll go into some detail on that in the section on external services. When going over the activity card, we mentioned an easy link to the audit log. But what is it? The audit log is the single information hub of all the events happening in the DDM network. The audit log displays a timestamped list of events. In other words, every action done by any user to any device or domains and issues, errors, etc. on the network will be reflected here. There is visibility into when the action occurred and if the action originated by a user, that is also captured in the audit log. And also, because the audit log reflects the DDM functionality which is constantly running, there may be more data than you need at any given point of time. This is why the system gives some data management options. What you can do is customize the columns you want to see. You can also use the search bar to filter out the specific information related to users, domains, devices, or particular events. DDM does not automatically clear logs unless intentionally done by someone with site administrator level privileges. Logs can be cleared if it's becoming too cumbersome to view. But it is always recommended to back up the audit log first. It's actually recommended to periodically create backups of the audit log. Let's get into a demo. We will now be accessing a demo environment to get an understanding of the DDM's capabilities as far as system monitoring goes. As we enter DDM, we will get a view of the dashboard. There are a few gray alerts which indicate the informational alerts. The icons show that they are related to the system and clocking. Because this is a live system, to demonstrate how the alerts work, I will now unplug the network cable from the mixer. As soon as this is done, I get a red alert here in the alerts section. I could also scroll down to the domain cards and see that the hardware domain has connectivity issues. Because these are live notifications, I'm going to plug the cable from the mixer back in. As you can see, the alerts have disappeared. What else do we have here? The HA cluster is working fine. The external services, namely email and LDAP, are functioning as expected. The SNMP agent service, Dante Discovery Service, and the Device Manager Service, which are associated with the DDM server, are operational. We have the activity widget registering all the new events. Scrolling down will take us to the domains. Note that you can minimize them with the little red arrow. Alternatively, you could also customize your dashboard. For that, go to the top right corner of the dashboard to do this. As an example, let's drag the activity widget to the bottom right corner. Once you're done, click on Stop Customizing. The other useful tool is the ability to filter the alerts. Click on Filter, and you'll have a lot of options in terms of what you would like to be notified. Watch as I uncheck the expiration category. If I am not a site admin, I probably am not concerned with the licensing, and my focus would be better targeted at domain-related issues. Next up, let's take a look at the audit log. As mentioned before, all the activities under DDM are recorded here. As we scroll down, we can see a wide variety of events, from user creation to logins and hardware events. Again, we have the ability to customize the columns. It seems that the source IP has not been checked, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can also export the logs to a CSV file. If you are needing to engage with our support team, having the CSV file handy would be very helpful. There is also an option to clear the logs if there is ever a need. Again, not something we recommend, but there may be scenarios where it makes sense. As you can see here, at this point there are more than 28,000 entries in our system. Looking through this to find specific information may be cumbersome without filters. Obviously, you can use the search bar to search through the events. We also have the ability to filter using a range of parameters. For example, you can use the datetime option, select range and pick dates and times. We could also use the username parameter and filter the information to a particular user. Filters can also be stacked. That was our chapter on system monitoring. We hope you're enjoying these chapters. See you in the next one.